Welcome back. You're watching Financial Planner. My name is Smriti Rao and I'm in conversation with a certified financial planner, Sumeet Vaid, this evening. And we're talking about credit cards. Do you actually need those credit cards? If you do have them, how should you be dealing with those cards and keeping all your spending in check? Sumeet, we're talking about a couple of people who have these cards and may have a tendency, I'm not saying all of them do, but some people may have a tendency to overspend. What happens if you don't pay your bills on time? We know that apart from those hefty interest rates that you pay on your bills, what are the other bad stuff that can happen to you?
It can be pretty bad. Okay, let's try and analyze.
The understatement.
Yes.
Pretty bad.
Pretty bad. Let's try and understand these points from four factors. So first of all, it's a psychological factor.
Right.
Any default on a credit card payment is a many a time we have seen it's psychological blow. It really shakes up your confidence because at back of your mind you'll always have this kind of a genie on your top, trying to say you have to pay your credit card, you have to pay, and your emails will keep getting pinged. Sometimes SMSs will keep getting pinged.
Right.
Sometimes calls will start coming to you. Many a time people come to your house and talk about it. It's a pain which can be avoided,
right.
but it has a huge psychological impact.
Right. It can cause nervousness, anxiety, guilt.
Sure.
Perhaps
stress. In today's life, it's one more factor. Somebody else is following up, and
right.
that also for money, which is not a good point to be in.
Right.
So the first point is the psychological factor. The second point is social. Now, the social point is it is linked to psychological. As soon as your confidence level goes down, or you go through these upheavals, people around you notice.
Right.
And when you get noticed, and when they come to know about it, that this guy is into some kind of a credit trap, credit card kind of a trap,
yeah.
it is kind of a reflection on your personality. It many a time is seen as that somebody who cannot take care of himself within a credit card debt, he's not responsible enough, or what kind of a spendthrift is this guy. It is seen as a social impact also, and it becomes a bigger social impact if the goons come to your house.
Right, or it may also be a bigger social impact if your boss finds out about it. Your credit history becomes known to people, and it affects your current employment or even your future employment prospects.
That's right, and credit history point is very, very valid, because what's happening is India has just come up with base rate concept,
right,
in which banks have come up with base rate, and they'll start over a period of time coming up with products in which they'll give you loans based on the rates on your credit profiles.
Right.
So if your credit profile is not good, difference between me and you can be different, rates on the loan, which has a huge impact on long-term basis.
Right.
So credit profile is becoming an important tool, and it does have a social and psychological impact towards the people in terms of trying to do that.
Before you go ahead, Sumeet, I want to bring up, to your point about credit profiles. So you're saying that if you don't pay your credit card bills on time, that'll impact your credit profile, and that'll impact the sort of loans that you get and at what rates you get them. Give us an example of that, or any.
As per the new guidelines of RBI, all banks are now offering base rate.
Right.
So banks announced the base rate on which their loans will start off with. So now the differentiation of loans interest rate will be based on the credit profiles of the individuals, along with certain other criteria which banks will determine. So as an example, if both of us are on the same plane, your credit profile is better than my credit profile, then both of us will get loans at a differential rate.
So I get my loans at a better rate, and
That's
you
right.
get yours at a terrible rate. You end up paying much more in the long term.
That's true.
Okay, so one reason to pay all of your credit card bills on time. Now, what was the other point that you were going to make?
It is also personal. Many a time we get cases in which the personal relationships get impacted.
Right.
Between
husbands, wives, girlfriends, boyfriends.
That's right, because usually it's the one side which is using more credit card than the other side, and the problem is for the couple per se.
Right.
And this can result in marital disharmonies, it can result in misunderstandings, it can result sometimes in fights and many other issues which are very deep rooted. And as these problems become more vicious, we see all these factors start really acting at one point. So there is psychological, social, personal, all these problems start really coming up to you in a very big way. Linked to this then is the financial implication.
Of course, yeah.
So you have psychological problem, you have social problems, you have personal problem, and linked to this financial, what it really means is your credit card default or your credit card not being paid on times mean that your saving plans, your investment plans, your ability to plan for your future is going for a toss. So your future dreams, your future goals, which you were aspiring for, are under question mark.
Right, right.
So it really impacts the basic foundation of life, which is dreams.
Right. That's several wonderful points that you made over there, Sumeet. I want to touch upon, are there any lessons for us to be learned from the credit crisis in the United States? You've seen one economy over there completely. I'm not saying that the entire economy went bust because of the credit cards or credit crisis itself, but there's a point to be learned over there that a large section of the population over there was spending much more than they could afford on using cards or using loans that they couldn't afford to pay back. That's one story where you can learn your lesson from there. What would you tell people if they had to look at the United States at this point?
Yep, I will use the United States example and talk about India here. I'll do the reverse bit. I think all of us know about what the United States did, but what is really to be highlighted here is what India did so differently. I think the biggest point which we Indians do, which we have seen it from our past grandfathers or forefathers itself, is saving potential. We as a country save regularly, and our saving rates have been in excess of 30% for a very long time.
True.
That means whatever we earn, 30% of that is saved. Now that 30% cushion today is making a country one of the fastest growing economies in the world, and will continue to do that for a longer period of time, provided we do not stop saving.
Right, so the key over there is save. But also, Sumeet, you made the point that it's completely possible to have the life that you want, with the credit card that you want, with or without a credit card, that it's entirely possible to have everything that you want, as long as you have a plan. As long as you save, you have the rest of the money left, then you can go blow that up, get expensive shoes, expensive sneakers. You can do whatever you want, but the important thing is to have a plan. Well, we'll continue this conversation with Sumeet in just a little bit. We also have some viewer queries. Remember, you can send us your emails with your questions at financialplanner@bloombergutv.com. We'll talk about one such viewer when we come back. You're watching Financial Planner. I'm in conversation with Sumeet Vaid. He's a certified financial planner. Now, we also have a lot of viewers writing in with their questions. Remember, you can always do that. Get in touch with us. You can email us at financialplanner@bloombergutv.com. Dr. Gaurav Gogoi from Assam has written it. He says, I'm 25 years old. I'm new to investment. I'm currently earning 25,000 per month. My expenses per month are around 5,000. My contract ends next year. Then I might have to find another job. Which way do you suggest I should invest at this moment? Is there a way for a one-time investment? So, Sumeet, looking at what Dr. Gogoi has to say, he's probably going to be looking for a new job in the next year or so. He earns 25,000. He's 25, so he has the benefit of the age on his side. We're presuming he's single. We don't know.
First point which I like to really emphasize here is saying one-time investment.
Right.
I think there's nothing of that side.
There's no such thing as a one-time investment.
It's a process. It has to be made into a habit and need to follow it that way. Second point is, as the way it comes across in his query, he's into a job which is contractual.
Right.
Which is for a certain period of time. Now, in that kind of environment, first and foremost things before he do anything else in his life is to take care of his emergencies and contingencies. Because in his case, the contingency can be the next role of job might not happen at the right time, and he might have to give it a time. So you should ideally plan for 6 months of his expenses being kept aside as an emergency planning, and then decide about anything else to be done. In fact, in this case, I might even suggest 1 year, because there is uncertainty in the job.
Right, absolutely. And especially in these times, what if he has to move cities, or what if he has to start all over again, and then you have these setting up costs that you have. So emergency funds would be the first thing. Dr. Gogoi, we hope that was of some help to you. So the first thing that he should do is just maybe he has 20,000 left over from his salary minus expenses. 20,000. Do you think 10,000 for assuming that you say put aside 10,000 for your emergency fund? Any other ideas for the other 10,000?
5,000 rupees for a year. That means he needs to really provide for 60,000 rupees.
Right.
And he's saving 15,000 rupees a month income minus expenses. So my suggestion for him will be first take care of his emergency before you do anything else. So 4 months of saving will take him in terms of his emergencies being taken care of.
Right.
Then he starts thinking about the next, what to do with that amount of money. And before we really advise, I think we need to articulate and explain him the power of setting goals. I think you need to start off with goal, which is 2, 3, 4 years. Goals can be his own marriage. Goals can be going out on vacation. Goals can be self-development. It can be I want to do an MBA. I want to do any other kind of a course which will help me, or any other kind of medical course which will help me to really do well in my career itself. Once you have a goal, it'll be very easy for us to go and assign that particular amount to a defined duration with defined rate of return and with defined risk.
Right.
If that happens, I think situation becomes much more easier.
Much more clearer. But
Yeah.
for Dr. Gogoi, I think the next 1 year is going to be crucial as he tries his best to set aside that emergency fund. I'm afraid, Sumeet, we'll have to leave it over here. We're out of time. But thank you so much for your time and for your advice.
Pleasure.
Like I said, I have to wrap up the show for now. But I want to tell you what's coming up tomorrow. Now, we've been talking over the last couple of days about the things that we need to do to keep our money safe and then to see that our wealth grows over the long run. It's not something that's going to happen overnight. It's a slow and structured approach that you need to have. But how do you draw up a financial plan for yourself? What are the things that you should be looking at, the questions you should be asking yourself? We'll talk about that, but tomorrow. Join us then. Until then, goodbye.